Dandavats, dear friends, dear devotees. Today we will meet with our dear Mahayogi Prabhu, and please, you can be active participants of this meeting and asking your question. And we see Mahayogi Maharaj, Dandavat. Happy to see you. How are you?
Rasananda Prabhu, it's good to see you. I see you look happy and healthy and holy, very good looking and skinny. Maybe you lost some weight. Last time I saw you, we were at the Vedalife.
Yeah.
You know, that was
people.
2018, I think. I can't remember, but we had a great time there on the island in the Dnieper, in the beautiful city of Kiev, chanting Hare Krishna Kirtan and having all kinds of talks and sangha. And that was really great. We had a hotel, and they divided the different sections of the park into, I can't remember, Indraloka, Brahmaloka, Shivaloka, remember?
Yes.
Yeah, we had a great old time there in Kiev. I remember you had these different stages, and I was to be a speaker. And I thought, oh, great. When do I speak? And you said, talk to Harimati, she knows. So I went with Harimati, and there's this big stage with speakers and microphones and 100 people. And I thought, oh, good, that's for me. And someone said, no, Avadhut Maharaj will speak there. Oh, okay. Where are we going? Then there was a smaller stage, also nice. They had some bales of hay or alfalfa or something for people to sit on, rustic and beautiful. And I said, oh, that's for me. They have a big microphone. And someone said, oh, no, Goswami Maharaj will speak there. Oh, okay. And then I walked out a little bit further, and there was like a tent, and you could sit on the grass. And there was no microphone. And there were about 5 people. And I said, oh, is that for me? No, that's for Madhusudan Maharaj. So they took me over to this tree. And I said, what's here? And they said, well, that's where you speak. So I sat under a tree, and Harimati was translating. Soon they brought a little microphone. And pretty soon we had 10 or 15 people. And then it was 20 or 25 or 30. And I thought, this is really special. I don't know much about Ukraine. I visited Ukraine maybe 4 or 5 times. I can't remember because I was jet lagged. But we went to the Vedalife. I've been to Vedalife there 3 times. Once we had in a big park, like this old, maybe Soviet-style architecture with the big colossal buildings and nice bike paths. And Asutosh Prabhu was my translator. And then I came back another time on the island, and we had big kirtans, and Tyagi Maharaj was there. And this was my 3rd time. But I'm always surprised by the people of Ukraine, that just sitting there and talking about the soul and God and karma, reincarnation, meditation. Suddenly I had 25 people listening to me, which was very surprising. So I love the people of Ukraine, and we had a great time at at that Vedalife there. There was this big old school building that had been, I don't know, its life as a school was finished. It was empty, and it had graffiti, and the devotees called it Chernobyl. And then you had a section, there was a Hadai Pandit Prabhu had a little tea stall. But yeah, it was a great festival. So tell me, Rasananda Prabhu, how are you? How are things going?
We have Kali Yuga festival now in Ukraine. Or
Kali Yuga festival? Oh, sorry.
This is helping us to be, like Avadhut Maharaj says, that difficult times times burn the strong people. So we try and our spiritual life. And
well, I see photos on, I follow you, and some of you, Narayani, I think I follow you, and some of these other folks, I see you on Instagram, and you're always putting up your photos of Govinda Land, is it? Govinda Land Dham?
Yes, from Govinda Land, from sometimes Kiev, sometimes Lviv. And you remember Madhusudan Prabhu Brahmachari. He is now powerful preacher. They traveling. Yes, Lviv, Vinnytsia, and now people very happy to hearing about what decision we can find it in this difficult times. So now Hare Krishna is very.
And how is the weather over there? Is it cold?
Very not popular, but weather. This winter is normal. Is not hot.
Oh, that's nice. Here in Mexico, I'm living in Mexico, as you know, and here it's springtime. We have a big festival, not me, but they have a big festival in the park not far, and sell flowers, and plants, because right now is a good time for planting. So right now in Mexico, it's springtime, but I expect in Ukraine it must be pretty cold. Anyways, our prayers are with you, Rasananda, and the people of Ukraine as well. I know it's a very difficult situation. Sometimes when there is tragedy and difficult situation, it's easier for us to think about our spiritual life. When people are happy and have plenty of money and things are going perfectly, we don't think so much about God and Krishna and our own personal mortality. There's a section in the Bhagavatam, in the first canto. You probably know this. I don't remember the Sanskrit off the top of my head, but where Queen Kunti is saying goodbye to Krishna. So the Battle of Kurukshetra is finished, and so many great soldiers have perished. And Queen Kunti tells Krishna, this was a time of great difficulty, but when the Pandavas have great difficulty, Krishna appears. So sometimes we even like the idea of great difficulty, because that's when you appear. Vipada Shantuta Shashva Tatra Tatra. Yeah, that's the verse. Thank you. I can't do Sanskrit. I used to very well and quickly do lots of Sanskrit verses, but now they escape me, especially under pressure like this. Yeah, Vipada Shanti, you know that verse. That's a very important. It's difficult to think like that. Srila Sridhar Maharaj used to tell us that every wave is favorable. But that's hard to see. How is it that every wave is favorable? Sometimes you can see that later, maybe not today, but maybe in a year or two, when you're in India under a mango tree, sipping a lassi with your devotee friends. You'll think back and say, those were difficult times, but they were favorable. Every wave is favorable. But it's very, very strange to say, I'm sitting in Mexico and you're there in Ukraine. It's hard for me to say that things are favorable. Anyways, I'm told that we were going to have some kind of conversation and ask and answer different questions. I don't want to dominate the conversation. When I used to work producing books, my great good quality is I know how to listen. Now I'm old and I'm a teacher and people ask me to talk, but I really like listening. So what do you have to say? Or if you have some question, I know it's difficult to ask questions. I find this especially as a teacher, because when you ask a question, people think, oh, he's ignorant. He doesn't know. Why is he asking a question? It exposes you. But really, sometimes the best part of the conversation are the questions. If you look, I said this in my Bhagavad Gita talks, and it's true. If you look at the great sections of the Shastra that we all know and love, they're conversations. We just spoke of the one between Kunti and Krishna, but there's the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. And Arjuna asks some pretty good questions. There's the Ramananda Roy Samvad. And who's asking the questions there? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So to ask a question, it doesn't mean that you don't know something. Sometimes it means you're more intelligent than the person who's giving the answers. But I like the idea of conversation because there's a dynamic.
Your general treasure of your spiritual life. What you can say?
My general advice, if you like, is a couple of things. One, somebody told me this talk is supposed to be about the legacy of Sridhar Maharaj. And I thought about that a little bit. And, his legacy is very big, vast. Because if you think about it, we really know about Krishna consciousness in the West because of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who I took Harinam initiation from. And Srila Prabhupada, as we in ISKCON used to like to call him, took sannyas from Bhakti Pragya and Keshava Maharaj, who took sannyas from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So, in terms of sannyas guru and hearing the mantra, Bhaktivedanta Swami heard the mantra from Keshava Maharaj, who heard the mantra from Sridhar Maharaj. So, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was widely acknowledged by Srila Prabhupada as his Shiksha Guru. I have a photo here, There's Prabhupada and Sridhar Maharaj. And over here, over there, that's Govinda Maharaj. And if you look at the microphone there, it's kind of interesting. It's tied on there with a string. And I'm told that they had a hard time attaching that microphone. So Govinda Maharaj took off his Brahmin thread and he used that to tie the microphone. But my point is, Bhaktivedanta Swami was a student of Sridhar Maharaj. Now you can say, well, he was a natural devotee. He was a Nitya Siddha. He was born perfect. But, even great violin prodigies who are experts and who can play Mozart sonatas when they're 6 and 7 years old, they need teachers. They go to a great teacher and learn the finer aspects of violin. So Bhaktivedanta Swami was undoubtedly a great soul, a Shaktivesh avatar even. But he was humble enough to take initiation from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as his guru, and later take shiksha, take spiritual advice from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So whatever we know about Krishna consciousness in the Western world, that means George Harrison singing My Sweet Lord, the Beatles, John Lennon singing Jai Guru Dev. All that is also the legacy of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. The preaching of Srila Prabhupada in a big way, it's the legacy of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Sridhar Maharaj himself never went out into the Western world, but he inspired generations of devotees, not just my generation, but the generation that came after. Not just Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Govinda Maharaj, all the followers of Srila Govinda Maharaj. And those books that we produced, Sri Guru and His Grace, The Search for Sri Krishna, The Golden Volcano of Divine Love, The Loving Search for the Lost Servant, Subjective Evolution of Consciousness. These are also the legacy of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. The legacy is not only the buildings, not simply the temples built in India under the name and style of Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Math, but the disciples as well, and the different lines that come from those disciples and his books. So wherever anybody chants Hare Krishna, their life has been impacted by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So as far as the legacy of Srila Sridhar Maharaj goes. And then if you want some spiritual advice, I don't really like to give people spiritual advice because my mother used to tell me, so Mahayogi, you're so spiritual. Why can't you, why do you get angry? And I had to admit, well, my mommy has a point, I'm supposed to be a big spiritual person, but I get angry. I work in a school with little children sometimes, not always. I work with adults. I work with, master's degree programs and so on, but sometimes there's little children. And if a little boy comes up and kicks you and says, I don't like you, you're bad, you can't kick him back. You get into big trouble if you do that. You can't become angry. So Govinda Maharaj always used to tell people, if you want to understand my religion is tolerance and humility. And that's a very difficult path. It's very easy to be a vegetarian or to practice Vedic astrology or to fast on Ekadashi. It's not so difficult. It's not easy, but it's not that difficult to fast. But to control your anger, that's difficult. So if I have any advice, I would say this: try to keep the faith. Sometimes the devotees will do things that you don't like. They will say things that you don't like, and you don't understand, and that will make you angry. But try not to lose your temper. Try to be tolerant, especially of the other devotees, and try to keep your faith and maintain the Sangha. And I know, especially in Ukraine, that must be difficult now. People are called on to do unusual things in these difficult times. But try to keep your faith and try to tolerate others, especially the devotees. That would be my advice. Try not to get angry. Control your anger. A good way to control your anger is, then people ask, like, how do you control your anger? Do you just go Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare? You know, is that the best way to control your anger? Maybe not. You're supposed to avoid offenses to the holy name. But a good way to control your anger is try to understand the suffering of other people. And if you can do that, then you'll see this person is trying to make me angry, but they're suffering too. And if you can have karuna, compassion, this is a very big, big point. You have to think, I want Nityananda's mercy for this person. They're outside the Vedic system. They have no place in Varnashram, but Nityananda Prabhu, he would be kind to them. Nityananda Prabhu is very special in our line because there were some people that even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he did not want to deal with. He did not want to, he couldn't. Jagai and Madai fall in that category, not simply because they're drunk, but also because they offended the Vaishnavas. They offended Haridas Thakur. They offended Nityananda Prabhu. Sir Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's keeping distance from those people. But Nityananda Prabhu showed them mercy. And what's also interesting is, if you think about Jesus Christ, he's saved the fallen from their sins. But Nityananda Prabhu, he's not simply giving moksha or liberation. He's not simply saving people from their sins, saving them from the flames of hell. But Nityananda Prabhu is delivering them up to the level of Krishna Prem, which is far above moksha. My brahmachari name was Mukunda. And when I asked Sridhar Maharaj, I said, so what does that mean? And he said, well, you tell me. I said, well, I'm told Mukunda is the giver of liberation. And he said, yes, this is true. Muktim dadati. Muktim dadati. Dadati means to give. Mukti, liberation. Muktim dadati. He said, but you need to go deeper. He said, the real meaning of Mukunda is Muktim kukutsit dadati. Krishna gives something which makes liberation look ugly. Kukutsit. Wow. In other words, what Nityananda Prabhu is giving is far above liberation. So Jesus Christ, he delivered the fallen souls. And especially even today, there are many alcoholic groups who appeal to Christ for mercy and liberation. But Nityananda Prabhu, he gives us something far beyond that. He finds the worst and he gives them Krishna Prem, which is much more than liberation. So if Nityananda Prabhu is capable of that, as followers of Gauranga and Nityananda, we should learn from that and try to avoid anger, and in this way progress. So if we can see the suffering of other people, then it's easier to forgive them their offenses and not take offense. Really, devotees cannot offend you, you know. So my advice, I really like what Govinda Maharaj said about humility and tolerance. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna. Amanina manadena kirtaniya sarakari. If you want to take the holy name, learn real tolerance and real humility. And it's easy to do that in the ashram. It isn't easy, right? I've heard it said that it's more difficult to live with saints than to be a saint, you know. More difficult to live with saints than to be a saint. So it's not easy, but it's really difficult in the real world. So try to practice humility and tolerance. This is key. Govinda Maharaj said, this is my religion. And the thing is, we're always talking about bhakti online, you know, Bhakti Pad, Bhakti VIDHAN, Mahayogi. But what is that? What is love? What is divine love, especially? And we have a very high ideal. This is true. And we're told, asat sanga tyag, give up the association of the non-saintly people. And sadhu is one who cuts, and we have to preach and speak the truth. But at the same time, you must learn compassion, tolerance, and humility in a practical way, which means don't mistreat other people. You cannot have love of God if you don't have any love for your fellow man, your fellow woman, you know. We love animals. We don't want to kill animals. It's very, very nasty and violent to kill animals and eat them. But try to avoid violence with other human beings as well. So that would be my advice. Try to be humble and tolerant. And I'm only talking this way because I'm waiting for questions from folks. I don't want to be the star of the show.
We have one question. We have a question from Ratin Krishna Prabhu, who is now in Vrindavan. He asked this list. Ratin Krishna Prabhu from Vrindavan. He was in Moscow. You can remember him from Moscow. He's a dancer.
Hi.
And now he is in Vrindavan with devotees, and he asking this list: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Why this in this order? First, Kama, Krodha, Lobha. It is have meaning, or it is not have meaning? The order.
That's a nice question. Well, you know, I'm not a Buddhist, and I really take issue with a lot of Buddhist ideas. because Buddhism is shunyavad. It goes into a certain kind of nihilism. But Buddha has a very good analysis. His point is, we want to become free from suffering. And so why do we suffer? So he makes an analysis, and he comes up with what's called the Four Noble Truths. So the first part of his analysis, why is there suffering? And he says there's suffering because there's karma. So because we have desire, and then you can't fulfill the desire, so you become angry. So after kama, there's krodha. And Krishna also says, kama esha, krodha esha, in the second chapter of the Gita, kama esha, krodha esha, someone will help me. He says, first there's desire, and then after desire, there's anger. Why? Because you can't have it. You want something very bad. I remember once I was on Sankirtan outside a department store. I was dressed as Santa Claus and handing out candy canes and collecting money for the Hare Krishnas, you know. And a little boy came out of the store with his mother. And the little boy was crying. He was in tears. He was screaming and crying. And I couldn't understand, why is he crying? It's such a happy time. There's Christmas trees everywhere, candy canes and Santa Claus, and everybody's happy. Why is this boy unhappy? So I paid a little attention. He was pointing to some toy he wanted, but he couldn't have that toy. So he was exploding in rage and anger. And then I saw, okay, Buddha has something there. He says, first there's desire, and then there's pain caused by anger. Kama, esha, krodha, esha, sama, but was it? I can't remember the sounds, but help me. Second chapter. So first there's anger, kama, and then there's krodha. I'm sorry, there's desire, and then there's anger. So that gets back to what I was saying. If you want to become free from anger, try to see the person who's tormenting you as also suffering. And then you won't feel the need to become angry. Buddha's solution for that is different. He says, well, then why is there desire? There's desire because there's ego. And we kind of agree with that. That makes sense. You have this sense of self, of who I am. And because I think I am a man, then as a man, I need this. And if I don't get that, then I become angry. And then greed comes in, lobha, I want. These things are all related to ego. So if you can get rid of ego, then you become free from anger and lust. The Buddhist solution to becoming free from ego then is to destroy the ego, to dissolve the ego. Because after all, he says, the ego is an illusion. There really is no self. And we part ways with Buddha there, because we know, it's a self-evident fact, that the soul exists, the Atma exists, the Jiva exists. Buddha's point is, when you come to terms with the non-existence of self, then you attain nirvana or enlightenment. But we say no. The pure nature of the soul is Satchidananda. So when you discover your true Satchidananda nature as a servant of Krishna, and you understand your position as an eternal servant of God, then you become rightly situated in a proper sort of ego. What you're suffering from now is ahankara. Ahankara means I do. I am the doer. The word kara is like karma. Aham, karma. I am the karma. I am the doer. Ahankara. That's the idea of false ego. So we become free from ahankara by realizing, no, God is the doer. Krishna is the maker of all. I'm really a servant of God. And in that sense, my egoistic desire for things in this world has to evaporate. And we become free from that desire by wanting things for Krishna, by wanting things for God. Now, that's a very abstract idea. How do you want things for God? And getting back to Nityananda Prabhu appears because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants some representative who can teach his line to the rest of the world. That is to say, the guru. Nityananda and the guru are identical. So it's very difficult to know God personally, but you can know the guru. And so that's why the guru is important to us and why we try to dedicate our lives to the guru. And the idea, very simply, is if you want to reduce your ego, find someone who is closer to God than you and do something for that person. And gradually you'll become free from lust, anger, and greed based on false ego. So, yeah, there is an order. That's an interesting question. Why does karma come first? Because this want, this desire that's in the soul is what leads us into darkness.
We have a question from Soumya Shyam. He asking how we can asking how we can asking excuse me for take this excuse. How I can ask, please excuse me that some person really excuse me. Forgiveness.
How can we ask someone to excuse us?
How we can ask him, please forgive me. That
Well, that sounds
really
good.
forgive me. This question from Soumya Shyam.
Please forgive me. Well, just like that. I don't think, of course, the Catholics, Soumya Shyam, he comes from Ireland. I know him. Hi. I visited him in Limerick, and there's a lot of Catholic people down there. I don't know if they're all Catholic, but they have this system where if you do something bad, then you go to the priest and you tell the priest, oh, I did a sin, I did something bad. And the priest says, okay, do some penance, say some prayers, and you're forgiven. But the problem with asking for forgiveness is your prayer for forgiveness must be sincere. In other words, I don't know, Rasananda just disappeared from my screen. Oh, there he is. You know, don't ask for forgiveness and then do the same thing. You know, you commit adultery and you go to the priest and say, Father, forgive me, I have committed adultery. And then you do it the next day and come back. So forgiveness is a very problematic area. Normally, if you offend somebody in public, then you should apologize in public. And if you offend someone between 3 or 4 people, then you should apologize there. But apologies don't always work. And sometimes you can find forgiveness, but you can lose somebody's trust. Trust is a very difficult thing to build. Sometimes it takes a long time to trust somebody. And then if you break trust, it's difficult to rebuild. But if you're sincere and you feel that you've hurt somebody else, ask for their forgiveness and then show them that you've changed, you know? Try to improve your behavior. That's very difficult, you know. So I offend the same people again and again, and then I ask for forgiveness, and then I offend them again. But it depends on the relationship also. Normally, for example, your mother will forgive anything. Your guru, it's difficult to offend the guru. Your guru loves you. You know, if someone is a good teacher, they love you. They want you to do well. If you make a mistake or do something stupid, you know, they'll forgive you a number of times. So, but be sincere, approach the person who you've offended and say, I'm very sorry. You could try saying it with flowers. Sometimes it's nice to offer somebody flowers. Right? Krishna likes flowers.
It's very practical answer. Thank you very much. I am hope Sobyashyam. It's to answer helping to Sobyashyam. And we have a question from Raman Prabhu from Ukraine. I'm sure you remember him. And he asking that in these talks, very often our speakers sometimes sharing their relationship with Srila Avadhut Maharaj. And maybe you can say something about your friendship and Avadhut Maharaj.
I love Avadhut Maharaj. He's a great soul. He's very energetic. He has a big vision. Some people, Sridhar Maharaj used to say, you know, some men can take care of, you know, only one wife. Other men, they can take care of an entire kingdom with horses and armies and elephants. So Avadhut Maharaj has a big vision. He has a big idea, and not just one. He has many, many, many different ideas. And he's always trying to do something. Whereas many devotees are happy to sit, like me, I'm happy in my little study here with my books. But he travels all over the world, enlivening devotees in different languages and different countries to do different things. So I think he's a great and powerful soul with a lot of imagination and energy, and I hope all his projects are successful. I can tell a couple of funny stories, but I don't know how much time I have. I went to Thailand to see Goswami Maharaj, who I had not seen in a long time. And I suppose it was really Avadhut Maharaj's invitation because he wanted to meet me and talk to me. And I met him in the airport in Bangkok. I was leaving Thailand and he was just arriving. And I said, well, how will I meet you there? It's a big airport. I think it's the Suvarnavarna Bhumi airport in Bangkok. It's a huge airport. And he said, don't worry, I'll find you. And I thought, okay. So we were coming in on Royal Thai Airways, which is a very nice airline if you ever get the chance to fly. And as we're coming into Bangkok, the plane landed, and the music on the airplane was the dance of the sugar plum fairies from Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite. And that's a very Russian piece, if you know it. It's very representative of Russia. And I thought, well, this is interesting. I'm going to meet a Russian man, and they're playing the Nutcracker Suite from Tchaikovsky. So I get off the airplane, and you go past this huge statue of the gods and the demons churning nectar with Vasuki, So we walk into the airport, and I'm looking around like, I don't know what I'm looking for. I've never seen a photo of Avadhut Maharaj. And suddenly, he appears out of nowhere, and he grabs my luggage cart and starts pushing my cart. And I thought, well, I can't let him do that. He's the guru, who am I? But he was very happy pushing my cart. So I thought, well, if he wants to do that, okay. Then we sat down. We went to a place where we could sit. I had a coffee. And he said, so you're Mahayogi? I said, yeah. He said, well, there's three things I want you to do. One, I need you to help with the Mahabharata project. Two, maybe we'll do a book about Sridhar Maharaj. And three, I want you to write a script about the man who discovered Angkor Wat. I said, okay, I can do that. Sure. Do you have a book or something that I can base the script on? I said, it's all on the internet. Everything is on internet, Mahayogi. You can look on internet. I said, well, what am I looking for? And he said, Arimo. Okay. And so I went back to Mexico, and I spent like a year writing a script for Angkor Wat. And what I did was I was writing about this André Malraux, who was a French minister of culture. He went to Angkor Wat, and he stole some art there, these bas-reliefs from Angkor Thom, I think it was. It was an obscure place, but these are the most delicate, finely carved stone carvings there in Angkor Wat. And I wrote a really good story. It's a true story. André Malraux, he was the French ministry culture. And later they arrested him and condemned him to death for being an art thief. I thought it's just a great story. Avadhut Maharaj will love it. So then about a year later, I went to Moscow and Petersburg, and I met him again. He said, so what do you have? And I showed him the script, and he said, "This is great. Wow, great story. I love it. But who is Andre Malraux?" And I said, "What do you mean? You told me to write a script about Andre Malraux in Angkor Wat." I said, "No, I didn't. I said Henri Mouot." It turns out Henri Mouot was a 19th century French explorer who had lived in Petersburg, and he's credited with the discovery of Angkor Wat. So I had to rewrite the script. But anyways, I worked together on a lot of different projects with Avadhut Maharaj. We worked on the Wisdom Project Samskara in Los Angeles, and I created some text. And then he wanted me to work on a thing called the Yogi's Journey, which I think now they made that into a game that you can play. And he wanted me to record a voice for it. We wrote a script together. And in the script, you're going through the different levels of planetary systems, from Mahatala, Rasatala, Bur, Bhuva, Svaloka, Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Brahmaloka. We had a little script and an animation done by Igor Baranko, Ukrainian artist. So we're beginning at the bottom. And so I wrote this line, which I thought would be good. And I say, "Welcome to hell," because we're in the underworld. And I said, "How do I read this?" And Maharaj says, "Well, you just use your normal voice." Okay. "Welcome to hell." He goes, "No, what is that? You can't read like that. Where's Mahayogi? I need Mahayogi. You need the yoga voice. Find it." Okay. How about this? "Welcome to hell." What is shit? Don't give me this. This is Michael Dolan. Where is Mahayogi? So he left the recording studio. I turned to the producer and I said, "What am I doing wrong?" He says, "I don't know." I said, "What if I try it lower? Maybe I'd like lower my voice." He said, "Okay." He said, "When you speak, you have a lot of expression. Read it flat." So I said, "Okay." Low, 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 low. Welcome to hell. I said, "How about that? Could I read it like that?" The producer says, "Yeah, that's okay." So I started reading like that, and Avadhut Maharaj came back in and he said, "Yes, this is the Mahayogi. This is the yoga power." So I don't know. I've had a lot of fun experiences with Avadhut Maharaj. We went to Angkor Wat together, but that's a different story. We're running out of time.
Oh, thank you very much for this very interesting tales, stories. And I hope that next our meeting, we can tell more about this, about Siddhanta, about the subject, what you're working on, maybe some people books you're working. And now we must finish this, and I please asking you, please give you some good wishes to devotees for this service week.
Well, I was told that we were going to talk about the legacy of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So all of you are the legacy of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And that is the greatest blessing any of you could hope to have. So try to keep faith with Avadhut Maharaj, keep faith with Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Hare Krishna. And
Hey,
that's
Yogi, Yogi, I'm so happy to see you. It's so amazing. So amazing that I was trying to call you and I thought of you yesterday all day, and now I see you in person. So you're using your yogic divine mystic powers to manifest from Mexico. Because I'm in Malibu, we've got a new place in Malibu. So we are moved into a new place, and California, Malibu is a very exclusive neighborhood with very exclusive complaining neighbors. And we're trying to do an exclusive service here. And so when devotees ask me, who do we can, associate? I said, well, one of the most unique people in our mission is Mahayogi Prabhu, who had extreme fortune to be one of the co-editors of the books that we're all reading and inspiring by. In fact, I was listening this morning that, Rasananda, do we have Chaitanya Charitamrita today or tomorrow?
Maharaj, yes.
When?
Now.
Oh, now we have Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, so one thing is what we want to do. I just want to share with you. We want to publish Chaitanya Charitamrita, and possibly we want to get all the commentaries of Srila Guru Maharaj on Ramananda Samvada. And it may not be like big commentaries, but Govinda Maharaj, Sridhar Maharaj, they had unique input into Chaitanya Charitamrita, specifically Ramananda Samvada and some other important parts, which we believe is the core-based pillars of our Vaishnava philosophy. So it is very important that we're going to run these things by you, because Sahadev is working. Sahadev is kind of Mahayogi, but Russian Mahayogi, Russian yogi. And he's working on the text right now. But I always would be so happy that if you sometimes, because maybe not here's too many Russian speaking people. So when we complete more or less an idea to consult with you, because I think you can have an incredible input into the next generation of publishing of Srila Guru Maharaj's books. And of course, as you know yourself, there's an archive has a lot more than been published, but it needs to be carefully observed and structure some other articles and books that need to be. Basically, we have an ocean of divine nectar from Guru Maharaj, but we have to mine it and put it in a particular way. Anyway, I'm not going to take time long, but would be nice if which time you're available in Mexico? Because I tried to call you a couple of times, but I couldn't get you on Telegram.
I don't look at Telegraph so much, Maharaj. Skype is better for me. But yeah, okay, I'll check my Telegraph. Let's talk.
Skype is sucked because everybody's on Telegram, and I've been trying to call you numerous times. Okay. But couldn't get. So
sorry, Maharaj.
Let's
talk. I'd love to help.
Yeah, I mean, right now I just want to talk. I think the guy's doing pretty good work. We're going to talk about that today. But when we come to final stage, I mean, it's good to have overview and review by senior dinosaur teacher group that already knew what we've been working on. So I understand you knew the archive pretty good. So if you will overview and sign up, it will be good.
Sure. So mornings are my good time. So like in California, when it's about 9, like about this time is good for me.
Sounds good. It's also good for me. And I think it's also good for our team. Anyway, so happy to see you. Sorry I miss you so much. And I was trying to contact you, and I thought you might be in some busy stages. But I also was stuck in India for 4 months. Now I'm stuck in America. So when I call you, I'll talk. There's a lot of interesting things happening meanwhile. But I'm pretty much optimistic and happy to see you and all the devotees. Dandavat Pranam.
All right. Dandavat Maharaj.
Jai Mahayogi Prabhu. Mahayogi Prabhu ji ki jai hai. Yogi ji. Yogi Baba ki jai hai.
All right. Well, I think it's time to say adios.
Adios, adios. Adios, amigos.
Adios, amigos.